Good day. I am Dr. Grace de Guzman, and I will be lecturing on Parkinson's disease and other common disorders. Parkinson's disease was first described by James Parkinson in 1817. The disease begins between 45 and 70 years of age, with peak age of onset in the sixth decade. There are slightly more males than females. It is observed in all countries, all ethnic groups, all socioeconomic classes. In Asians, the incidence is 1/3 to 1/2 that in whites. Trauma, emotional upset, overwork, exposure to cold, and rigid personality were among the many suggested predisposing factors, but there is no evidence to support any such claims. A possible relationship to repeated cerebral trauma and to the punch-drunk syndrome has been unresolved despite several cases, because most do not have this exposure. Considering its frequency, coincidence in a family on the basis of chance occurrence might be as high as 5%. However, epidemiologic studies suggest that the familial occurrence may be as high as 15%. Study on dopamine metabolism using PET scan showed that 75% of asymptomatic twins of Parkinson patients have incidence of striatal dysfunction. The study by Golbe and colleagues showed that the characteristics of familial PD with earlier onset, relatively rapid course, and low incidence of tremors. Mutation in the gene encoding the protein alpha-synuclein, which is the main component of Lewy body, has been demonstrated by Dunnett and Bjorklund. The tetrad of hypo or bradykinesia, resting tremors, postural instability, and rigidity are the core features of Parkinson's disease. The early symptoms may be difficult to appreciate and are often overlooked by family members because they evolve slowly and tend to be attributed to the natural changes of aging. The speech is described as hypokinetic dysarthria, which is secondary to combined respiratory, phonatory, and articulatory dysfunctions. The voice is soft, monotonous, and cluttered, becoming less audible or mumbling until finally the patient only whispers. At first, the only complaints may be of aching or pain of the back, neck, shoulders, or hips, and of vague weakness, initially unilateral and then becoming bilateral. There is also infrequency of blinking of about 5 to 10 per minute, creating widening of palpebral fissure or a stare. A reduction in movements of the small facial muscles imparts the characteristic expressionless mask appearance or hypomimia. The characteristic tremor, which usually involves a hand, is often the initial sign. The 4 per second peel rolling tremor of the thumb and fingers is present when the hand is motionless or at rest. Complete relaxation, however, reduces or abolishes the tremor so that the term tremor in repose is a more accurate description. The arm, jaw, tongue, eyelids, and foot are less often involved. Rigidity is less often an early finding. When the examiner passively moves the limb, a mild resistance appears from the start and it continues evenly throughout movement in both flexor and extensor groups. This is elicited or enhanced by having the patient engage the opposite limb in a motor task requiring some degree of concentration, such as tracing circles in the air or touching each finger to the thumb. Poverty of movement is also reflected by infrequency of swallowing, slowness of chewing, a limited capacity to make postural adjustments of the body and limbs in response to displacement of these parts, a lack of small movements of cooperation, such as in arising from a chair without first adjusting the feet, and absence of arm swing in walking. As the disorder worsens, all customary activities show the effect. Handwriting becomes small or micrographia, tremulous and cramped. There is failure to fully close the mouth. The consumption of a meal takes an inordinately long time. Walking becomes reduced to a shuffle. The patient frequently loses balance and in walking forward or backward seems to be chasing the body's center of gravity with a series of increasingly rapid short steps in order to avoid falling. This type of gait is called festination. Defense and writing reactions become faulty. Falls may occur and may eventually lead to fractures. The stance become camptocormia, or there is extreme forward flexion of the spine, becoming severely stooped posture during the advanced stage. Neurologic signs which are elicited in the patients include inability to inhibit blinking in response to a tap over the bridge of the nose or glabella, and this is called Meyerson sign. Commonly, there is an impairment of upward gaze and convergence. If prominent or noted early in the disease, this sign suggests more the possibility of progressive supranuclear palsy or PSP. Bradykinesia may extend to eye movements, and there is a delay in the initiation of gaze to one side and slowing of conjugate movements. These are some images showing the clinical features of a patient with Parkinson's disease, such as facial expressions, hypomimia, the cogwheel rigidity, the micrographia, and rest tremors, gait impairment, postural instability, autonomic dysfunction, manifested as seborrhea, orthostatic hypotension, constipation, urinary dysfunction, behavioral changes such as depression, anxiety, and dementia, occurrence of pain and sleep disturbances with increased rigidity at night. Others would show no sensory findings, but there's a wide variety of paresthetic and other sensory complaints and discomfort. There's also drooling because of failure of swallowing the saliva, seborrhea and excessive sweating because of autonomic dysfunction, a pull test for postural instability, which is a core feature of advanced illness, and this is shown in the picture by which the examiner tugged the patient's shoulder from behind. There are equal deep tendon reflexes and absence of pathological reflexes. There's tendency to have orthostatic hypotension and syncope, which are secondary to cell loss in sympathetic ganglia. This table shows the initial symptoms in PD and their frequency of occurrence. The early symptoms may be difficult to appreciate and are often overlooked by family members. see that rest tremors will occur in about 70% as the initial symptom. Parkinson's disease may be complicated by dementia. The reported frequency of PD and dementia combination varies considerably, but an estimate of 10 to 15% is generally accepted. The incidence increases with advancing age and duration of disease, approaching 65% in Parkinson patients older than 80 years of age. However, mental decline may become apparent in patients in their late 50s. The two main difficulties in the diagnosis are to distinguish typical Parkinson's disease from the many Parkinsonian syndromes caused by other degenerative conditions and by medications or toxins, and to distinguish the Parkinson tremor from other types, especially essential tremor. When not all the typical signs are evident, there is no alternative but to re-examine the patient at several month intervals until it is clear that Parkinson's disease is present or until the characteristic features of another degenerative process become evident. Differential diagnoses include the following: damage to the substantia nigra resulting from a vascular disease or to a syndrome that closely resembles Parkinson's disease due to atherosclerotic white matter damage, manifests predominantly as lower half Parkinsonism, in which shuffling gait, stickiness on turning, and falling are disproportionate to other features. There is no tremor and little or no response to levodopa. The MRI shows significant white matter changes in both cerebral hemispheres. Another is normal pressure hydrocephalus, which can produce a syndrome resembling Parkinson's disease, particularly in regard to gait and postural instability, and at times extending to bradykinesia. NPH has a triad of gait and postural instability with short steps but not shuffling, dementia, and incontinence. A lumbar puncture is helpful to distinguish NPH from Parkinson's disease. Progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP, is characterized by rigidity and dystonic postures of the neck and shoulder, a staring and immobile countenance, and a tendency to topple when walking, all of which are vaguely suggestive of Parkinson's disease. The cardinal manifestations are supranuclear ophthalmoplegia, pseudobulbar palsy, prominent neck dystonia, Parkinsonism, behavioral, cognitive, and gait disturbances that cause imbalance, and frequent falls. The disease usually develops after the 6th decade, and the diagnosis is purely clinical. Slight or unsustained response to levodopa is characteristic, and this will differentiate it from Parkinson's disease. Essential tremors are defined as fine, quick quality, and tend to appear during volitional movement with lack of slowness or flexed posture. Unilateral tremors will favor the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. Other differential diagnoses include the rapid onset of Parkinsonism, which are commonly secondary to neuroleptics or antipsychotics, and the hypokinetic type of depression. Pathology and pathogenesis. The most constant and pertinent finding is a loss of pigmented cells in the substantia nigra and other pigmented nuclei in the locus coeruleus, dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus. The substantia nigra is visibly pale to the naked eye, and microscopically, the pigmented nuclei show a marked depletion of cells and replacement gliosis, and some of the remaining cells have reduced quantities of melanin. Also, many of the remaining cells of the pigmented nuclei contain eosinophilic cytoplasmic inclusions surrounded by a faint halo, which are called Lewy bodies. Aging contributes to nigral cell loss, but the cell depletion is much more marked in Parkinson's disease than with aging. There is a reduction by 66% in the absolute number of pigmented neurons. The nuclear and synaptic protein, the alpha-synuclein, aggregates into filaments. And there is the alternative hypothesis by Brack, wherein the earliest changes in the brain occur in the dorsal glossopharyngeal vagal and anterior olfactory nuclei, and the substantia nigra compacta is affected only late in the pathology. This theory may explain a variety of clinical features such as anosmia. A neurotoxin known as MPTP, or 1-methyl-4-phenyl 1,2,3,6-tetrahydropyridine, produces irreversible signs of Parkinsonism and selective destruction of cells in the substantia nigra. The toxin is an analog of meperidine, which binds with high affinity to monoamine oxidase, an extraneural enzyme that transforms the MPTP to a toxic metabolite, pyridinium MPP. Now, this pyridinium is bound by the melanin in the dopaminergic nigral neurons, sufficient to destroy the cells. However, despite the extensive study, no chemical toxin or heavy metals or infection has been causally related to Parkinson's disease. Some theories explain that the toxin might be implicated only on a genetic background predisposing to the disease. Genetic aspect. There are mutations in at least 10 genes that are related to typical or classical forms of Parkinson's disease, but only 5% of patients have monogenic forms of disease. Some of the most important are the SNCA and the rest, identified as risk factors rather than as obligate markers of Parkinson's disease. There are identified proteins in PD, which are the alpha-synuclein and parkin. The alpha-synuclein, which is an intranuclear and synaptic protein, in high concentrations, it aggregates into filaments, and this is the main constituent of Lewy body. The other protein, parkin, participates in the removal of unnecessary proteins from the cells. Mutations in the parkin gene lead to an inadequate of synuclein or misfolding, resulting to its accumulation. The diagram on the left shows the proposed mechanism of alpha-synuclein toxicity in Parkinson's disease. Alpha-synuclein levels are elevated either by duplication of one copy of its gene or by point mutations or mutations in Parkin, reducing the normal removal of the alpha-synuclein. So excess synuclein polymerizes to form protofibrils, which may be enhanced by defects in some heat shock proteins or by the action of dopamine, which binds to synuclein. The entire process leads to the formation of Lewy bodies, which eventually leads to neurotoxicity. For treatment, at present, treatment is based on controlling the symptoms because no drugs or surgical approach prevents progression of the disease. The treatment is individualized. The goal of treatment is to keep the patient functioning independently for as long as possible. Treatment can be medical or surgical, although reliance is placed mainly on pharmacologic approach, particularly on levodopa. This table shows the different drugs commonly used in the treatment of PD, together with the recommended doses, the starting dose, and the target dose or the maintenance, the clinical benefits, and the potential side effects. This table can be found in the chapter on Parkinson's disease. L-DOPA or levodihydrophenylalanine is the most effective agent for the treatment of Parkinson's disease, and the therapeutic results, even in those with advanced disease, are consistently better. Levodopa is introduced when the symptoms begin to interfere with work and social life, or falling becomes a threat. It is used at the lowest effective dose. The number of neurons in the striatum is not diminished, and they remain receptive to ingested dopamine, acting through the residual substantia nigral neurons. However, over time, the number of the remaining neurons in the substantia nigra becomes inadequate, and the receptivity to dopamine of these target neurons becomes excessive as a result of denervation hypersensitivity. This leads to both reduced response to levodopa and to paradoxical and excessive movements called dyskinesias with each levodopa dose. Dopamine decarboxylase inhibitors, or DDI, include carbidopa or benserazide. These drugs cannot penetrate the CNS. By combining levodopa with a DDI, the carboxylation of levodopa to dopamine is reduced in the peripheral tissues. This permits a greater proportion of levodopa to reach the substantia nigral neurons, and at the same time reduces the peripheral side effects of levodopa and dopamine, such as nausea, hypotension, and confusion. DDI increase the bioavailability of levodopa, and this is the recommended initial dose. Catechol O methyltransferase or COMT inhibitors, an example of which is entacapone, extends the plasma half-life and the duration of levodopa effect by preventing its breakdown, as opposed to the increasing in the bioavailability with DDI. Dopamine agonists are drugs that have a direct dopaminergic effect on striatal neurons, thereby partially bypassing the depleted substantia nigral neurons. There are synthetic derivatives such as bromocriptine and non-ergot derivatives such as ropinirole and pramipexole. The effects are the following. They are used as initial treatment, replacing levodopa, or they can be used as add-on drug to modulate the effects of levodopa later in the illness. This group of drugs is favored because they are associated with fewer dyskinetic motor complications, or they may even delay the need for levodopa. However, dopamine agonists are less potent than levodopa in managing the main PD features, and in higher doses and in older individuals, dopamine agonists may produce undesirable motor and cognitive side effects, such as orthostatic hypotension, unpredictable sleepiness, hallucinations, and confusion, particularly in the elderly. Because of the potential side effects of levodopa and of dopaminergic agents, some clinicians avoid prescribing pharmacotherapies for patients who are in the early phase of the disease and if the symptoms are not troublesome. When the predominant manifestation is tremor, anticholinergic treatment alone gives very satisfactory results for up to several years. The anticholinergic drugs have limited effects on the postural, hypokinetic, and other manifestations. And please take note of the potential side effects of this group of drugs. Amantadine is an antiviral agent, and at 100 milligram twice a day dose, it has mild or moderate benefit for tremor, hypokinesia, and postural symptoms. In some patients, it reduces levodopa-induced dyskinesias. The mechanism of action is unknown, but antagonism of NMDA or release of stored dopamine has been proposed. Take note also of the potential side effects and the known contraindications. Monoamine oxidase or MAO-B inhibitors have beneficial effects on motor fluctuations induced by levodopa treatment. Neuroprotective agents. An additional approach has been to initiate treatment early in the course of the disease with a MAO-B inhibitor with the aim of reducing oxidative stress in dopaminergic neurons. Giving vitamin E as antioxidant have mixed results. Massive doses of coenzyme Q10 at 1.2 grams per day were found to offer marginal advantages on the progression over 6 to 18 months. In a diet of low-protein diet, alimentary derived amino acids compete for levodopa absorption. The side effects of levodopa are significant and may lead to discontinuation if patients cannot tolerate it. Nausea usually disappears after several weeks of use or can be allayed by the specific dopaminergic chemoreceptor antagonist domperidone. End-of-dose reduction in efficacy and the induction of involuntary dyskinesia and decline in efficacy at the end of the dose interval, typically 2 to 4 hours, may be treated by any of the following. So giving more frequent dosing or adding dopaminergic agonist or adding a COMT inhibitor. These dyskinesias may present as restlessness or head wagging or grimacing It can also be a lingual labial dyskinesia, the mouth and the tongue, blepharospasm, the eyelid, and especially the chorioatetotic movement and dystonia of the limbs, neck, and trunk. Psychiatric symptoms which coincide with the use of levodopa or dopamine agonist may also present problems. They are reported to occur in 15 to 25%, particularly in the elderly. Depression may be managed with SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, or trazodone. And this trazodone can address both depression and insomnia. Psychosis and the disturbing behavioral symptoms are managed with atypical neuroleptics or antipsychotics such as olanzapine, clozapine, risperidone, and quetiapine. However, take note of the potential side effects such as sleepiness, orthostatic hypotension. Clozapine is the antipsychotic which can provide an additional benefit of suppressing dyskinesias in the advanced stage. However, its hematologic side effect of agranulocytosis have led to limited usage. Regarding surgical approaches, these involve the placement of lesions in the globus pallidus, ventrolateral thalamus or subthalamic nucleus, contralateral to the side of the body affected. The best results were obtained in relatively young patients in whom unilateral tremor is the main symptom. Regarding deep brain stimulation or DBS, this involves bilateral stimulation of the subthalamic nucleus. It is a stereotactically guided procedure where electrodes are implanted in the posterior and ventral medial parts of the subthalamic nucleus or in the internal segment of the globus pallidus. There is also an electrical stimulator implanted in the chest wall. Indications for DBS include failure of medications to adequately relieve the symptoms, unmanageable dyskinesias that result from levodopa treatment, and dystonia. Possible complications include hemorrhage into the basal ganglia and local infection. Ancillary treatment includes physical therapy and exercises. And among the therapies that have been studied systematically, Tai Chi has been found to improve balance and reduce falls as measured by objective criteria. Yoga and massage may also be beneficial. Okay, any activity that keeps the patient moving may also be beneficial. Sleep may be aided by sedating antidepressants. Postural imbalance and falls can be mitigated by the use of walking aids such as a cane or a walker. Speech exercises help the motivated patient. And for hypotensive episodes, patients respond to fludrocortisone, droxidopa, pyridostigmine, or midodrine, which are all given in the morning. Compression stockings and increased water and salt intake are also recommended. Other diseases with abnormalities of movement and posture. First is the multiple system atrophy, or MSA, which is also known as striatonigral degeneration, or Shy-Drager syndrome, or olivopontocerebellar degeneration. It is a group of disorders characterized by neuronal degeneration, mainly in the substantia nigra, striatum, autonomic nervous system, and cerebellum. Clinically, there is a combination of symptoms and signs of cerebellar ataxia and Parkinsonian manifestations. So it is called MSA-P or MSA-C. More than 50% of patients have orthostatic hypotension. Other features of autonomic failure include erectile dysfunction, loss of sweating, dry mouth, meiosis, and urinary retention or incontinence. Vocal cord palsy is sometimes the initial manifestation, and this may cause dysphonia or stridor and airway obstruction, which may require eventually tracheostomy. The extrapyramidal illness is more severe than in Parkinson's disease. More than 40% of the patients are confined to a wheelchair or become severely disabled within 5 years. Progressive supranuclear palsy or PSP, the onset is typically in the 6th decade. There's a combination of difficulty in balance, abrupt falls, visual and ocular disturbances, defined as difficulty in voluntary vertical movement of the eyes. There is also slurred speech, dysphagia, vague changes in personality, including apprehensiveness and agitated depression. The most common early complaint is unsteadiness of gait and unexplained falling without loss of consciousness. There's gradual stiffening and extension of the neck, the staring, worried expression with a furrowed brow from the tonic contraction of the procerus muscle, combined with paucity of eye movements. MRI will show the hummingbird sign, which is very typical of PSP. The hummingbird sign is caused by selective atrophy of the dorsal midbrain seen on mid-sagittal images. Treatment includes levodopa, however, only with slight and unsustained benefit. Combination of levodopa and anticholinergic drugs have been ineffective. Zolpidem, which is a GABAergic agonist of benzodiazepine receptors, is reported to ameliorate the akinesia and rigidity. For dystonia, especially over the neck, benztropine or trihexylphenidil are effective, but botulinum injections may be a better alternative if there are focal signs. For the other clinical features such as sleep difficulties, urinary incontinence and feeding problems, symptomatic management and treatment may be offered to the patients. The key takeaways for the neurodegenerative diseases in general: this group of diseases affects all ages, but they occur chiefly during midlife or even later. The clinical symptoms and signs indicate the anatomic regions involved in the disease process. The progressive deterioration and ultimate death of the neurons within selective anatomic regions characterize this group of diseases. The course is slowly progressive over several years, leading to severe neurologic disabilities and among long-time survivors to a terminal vegetative state. And to date, no therapy is curative. The etiology of neurodegenerative diseases remains elusive, and some diseases are sporadic, some are inherited, and some are both. Thank you for your kind attention.